Okay, so UFC 259, Nate, let me tell you something. It did not disappoint. Look,
Well,
we knew
except
we were
for
gonna
Peter
have.
Yan.
We'll talk about that later. Look. Hey, look, hey, we gonna deal with Peter Yan and his situation later on.
Mm,
But look, hey, we
mm.
gonna get. You know what, man? Let me tell you something though. Besides that, UFC 259 did not disappoint. You know what? We'll start with Megan Anderson versus Amanda Nunes. Look, we said it, man. That is a Amanda Nunes is a bad woman, man. That is a
Bad, bad,
bad
bad, bad.
lady right there. And I'm gonna be real with you, because I'm gonna be real with you. This I was like kind of the only thing I was concerned about with Amanda Nunes was if her recently having like her kid, if that was gonna affect the way she fought in any way, right? And like obviously when people like obviously she didn't like I don't obviously correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, but I don't know if she gave birth to her daughter. But despite all that, usually when somebody has a kid, right? Like usually when a lot of people like especially fighters when they have kids, usually sometimes what happens is they end up going through like some kind of downhill. And it's not the kid's fault, right? It's just like, you're maturing as like a woman and everything. And that was the one concern I had. I was concerned more about like personally, like because I know her skills. She's like the most well-rounded, I think, fighter in the UFC, let alone in that women's division. But what I was concerned with was like, how is her the birth of her daughter gonna have an effect on her, right? And I was like, and I look at the fight, man, and let me tell you something. The birth of her daughter might have just turned her into an even better fighter now. Because let me tell you something. That Amanda Nunes that I seen on Saturday going through Sunday, man. Let me tell you something. That is the greatest. I think that is her most. I think that is her best performance yet, without a doubt. I think that is her best performance yet. A lot of people can go look at the Rousey fight. They can go look at the Misha Tate fight when she first won it. No, I think this right here was her best fight to date, without a doubt. I think this was her best fight to date. And let me tell you something. Look, Megan Anderson attempted a takedown, didn't get it. Amanda Nunes got right on top of her, man, got right where she needed to be, and made it a quick 90 office. It was a quick 90 office. She's like, "Yep." Made Anderson tapped out, left the octagon. And look, man, hey, again, I want to say congratulations to her having her daughter. And let me tell you something. I think it was for the. I think it's going to help her become even a greater fighter than what she was. Which I'm going to be honest with you is pretty scary. And that was the only hesitation that I had was like because sometimes when fighters have children, sometimes it ends up changing them in a certain way. Like mentally, it ends up changing them. Usually they'll end up kind of wanting to spend more time with their family, so they won't have like the same love that they used to for the fight game. So like or even athletes in general sometimes they'll want to spend more time with their family and so they'll end up leaving their profession in general because they want to spend more time with their family and they feel like that is the number one priority, which without a doubt Amanda Nunes having a daughter is definitely her number one priority. But let me tell you something: her having this daughter is probably going to make her work even harder now, and it looks like it because she was scary. She was scary before she had her daughter. She's even scarier now, man. Like I'm telling you, I can't find a woman in this division that's going to beat her. To be real with you, but I'm telling you, the one fight I need to see her have is against Valentina Shevchenko, the rematch between her and Valentina. That is the one fight I need to see her have because if there's one person that has tested her limits, it's Valentina, and she beat Valentina, but it was a very close fight. I want to see that rematch now, and that's why I think should be next for Amanda Nunes. But regardless, congratulations, Amanda Nunes, and I'm gonna give it to you, Nate.
Yeah, yeah. Congratulations to Amanda Nunez, the baddest woman on the planet, man.
You already know.
Oh, man, yeah. Yeah, you bet I already know. Look, man, there's really not much for me to say. This woman, just all she needed was one round, and that was it. That and going back to the birth thing, yeah, you're absolutely right. And then not only does it like change you mentally, but like obviously giving birth is I mean I'm a guy, so I don't know this. I don't have the ability to do something like this, but I do know that you know just judging by like description and what I've seen in like movies or whatnot or shows or whatever. That giving birth to a child is one of the most physical, or actually, I would say the most physically exhausting thing you can do. I mean,
Well,
it just takes a lot out of you.
I don't think she necessarily gave
Well,
birth.
if
She
she
might have had
did, and you can correct that again, like Mario said, correct us in the comments down below. But if she did, then obviously, it takes a while to come back from that. I mean, and everybody comes back from it differently. Same thing with injuries, but whether she gave birth to the child or not doesn't matter. She just be like you said, she just became a whole different kind of scary. Like we know Amanda Nunes is scary, but now there's just a whole nother level to that scariness. And all it took for her was one round to just just beat the hell out
Okay.
of Megan Anderson.
All right, Nate. They don't even need to correct this. I just found an article right now.
All right.
So her wife, correct me if I'm wrong. Nina Ansaroff. She's the one that gave birth to her.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because there's a picture right here of Amanda Nunez is in the scrubs, and her wife is the one in the bed, and it's a picture
Okay.
of those three. It's a picture of her and her and the kid and the daughter. So yeah, so her fiance or her wife gave birth to the kid, which congratulations. But
Yeah. Either
mentally,
way, I think obviously mentally people like take having a child differently. Like some people,
right.
a lot of women, athletes tend to retire when they have a baby, or some of them come back and Amanda Nunes is coming back, and I feel like her having a child is motivating her to do better, so her daughter can look up to her. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's pretty cool. So with that being
Absolutely.
said, congratulations to the baddest woman on the planet. And now we got to get to the next fight, Mario. What's the next fight we got to go over?
We have Jan Blachowicz defending his light heavyweight championship against the great Israel Stylebender Adesanya. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you, Nate. This was a pretty good fight. Overall, like this was a pretty good fight. Let me tell you something. Jan Blachowicz, we talked about his power, but we didn't talk about it enough. He had enough power to back up Izzy. Because the thing with Israel Adesanya is Israel Adesanya, I believe, is the most technical fighter in the game, and that's how he beat you based on being precise and accurate with his strikes. And the reason why I feel like he couldn't hit a lot was because Jan was waiting for him. And whenever Izzy would come forward, Jan would use that insane power that he has to back up Izzy. And not only that, they had that as a pretty close fight, you know? Well, some judges actually, there was one who had a 49-45. I think one had it 48 for no 49, 46, 49, 45, whatever it was, right? But a lot of people had this fight very, very close. I remember the announcer saying this fifth round is going to be very crucial, as if to say, like, this might be tied 2-2. Here's the one thing that I completely forgot to mention. Here's the one thing I completely forgot to mention when going over this fight. And I can't believe I never mentioned it. Israel Adesanya is a kickboxer and he's a fantastic striker. I think he's one of the best in the game. The one thing that I think was stopping Izzy, and we talked about how good his takedown defense was, but let me tell you something. When you go into the light heavyweight division, it's a completely different story, Nate. Okay, we're talking about Israel Adesanya, who's about 180, 185 when he fights. You're going up against you come into this with your natural weight of 200, which I'm pretty surprised he's 200. He looks lighter, but he comes into this fight as like 200 and a half pounds or 201, right? Jan Blachowicz comes into the fight in the way in that same amount of weight, but you got to remember he's not during the fight. Jan is not 200 pounds. He's about a good 225. So imagine a 225 pounder on top of a 200 pounder. It's pretty hard for the 200 pounder to escape, if you know what I'm talking about. And Jan did an absolutely great job with taking down Izzy. He did an absolutely great job with controlling the fight on the ground. And during that fifth round, he took it over and he proved that he could win. And he proved that he could win and beat Izzy. And congratulations to Jan Blachowicz. He did an absolutely amazing job. I know Israel Adesanya is going to be back. He'll probably learn from this as he should. He's a very, very intelligent fighter. He should come back and learn from this. He's obviously going to be one of the best UFC legends, without a doubt. Like Israel Adesanya is that good of a fighter. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what's next for Jan. They said he could be fighting Glover Teixeira next, which I think will be a pretty good fight. But let me tell you something. I don't think this is the last time you're going to see Israel Adesanya in the light heavyweight division. I don't. I think he's going to continue. And Israel Adesanya said in his press conference, he said to everybody that I disappoint, I apologize and I am sorry. He goes, if you want to get off the hype train, get off of it now. He goes, but listen to me. He goes, if you stay, I'm giving you a hell of a ride. It's as simple as that. And I quote, we're just stopping for a little bit of gas. So hey, I'm glad that he lost. He took it with class. He didn't like come up with any excuses or anything like that. He took it with class, and he did an absolutely. And I gotta commend him. He fought an absolutely great fight. It was just Jan's day.
Yeah, absolutely. That I think, in my opinion, you look at this one. First of all, congratulations to John. You know, great performance. We had the homeboy Israel winning, but obviously, we're not gonna get everything correct. So yeah,
Yeah, right.
well, man, I think this was the best fight on the card. To be honest with you, this one with the distance, right? This one go 4 rounds.
I'm sorry. This was the main event.
Oh, okay, yeah. I had to be honest. This was probably the best fight on the card, unlike some other fights on this list. More on that in a minute. But I mean, yeah, man. I mean, I believe this was Israel's first loss. Was it?
It's his
That was his
first
first.
loss in
That,
UFC.
that was his first loss in UFC. I mean, it's still pretty impressive. To only have
Right.
one loss in the UFC it's a really impressive stat. I mean,
Right.
we
And he
all
went up a weight class. You got to give him credit on that too.
exactly,
That
yeah. And he still managed to put up the fight that he did. Look, man, you're not. Well, man, yeah, we talk about guys like Khabib and John Jones. Those guys are undefeated. But like, me personally, I feel like, especially when you're an athlete, the greatest become great by losing.
right.
What I mean? You can have that perfect record, 33-0, whatever, 50-0, like Floyd Mayweather. You know what I mean? That's great, but like, what happens if they lose? We don't know what's gonna happen if they lose. Are they gonna retire? Are they gonna learn from it and be better? I feel like the greats learn the most by losing, and not even just the greats, but just any athlete in general. That's just how I see it. I mean, you guys can see it differently, and I'm not gonna force that upon you. But me personally, I think Israel Adesanya is gonna learn from this fight and become a better fighter from here on out. And he even
Right.
said, "I'm gonna give you
Absolutely.
one hell of a ride." And I'm ready
And
for that ride, man. You feel me?
absolutely, we're not hopping off. But nah, we got to give. But despite all that, we got to give credit to Bukovic. He did
Absolutely.
an absolutely amazing job. And this was a guy who was very. I thought coming in, I thought, well, he had a good fight against Dominic Reyes. But then I was like, you know what? None of these guys are Israel Adesanya. I never seen Blachowicz go up against John Jones when John Jones was in that division. So I couldn't tell you how good he was.
Right, right.
What I could what I could tell you was how good Izzy was. And I thought Izzy was gonna make this a cakewalk, because I really did. I really thought Izzy was gonna hit him with something precise. I thought Blachowicz was gonna walk into it and get caught up in something. I thought it was gonna be over. I thought it was gonna be Izzy by TKO. We said it. We said Izzy second round TKO. You know, like we
Right.
didn't like we didn't expect it to be going into the fifth round that close. And the judges had it for I think one judge had it like 49-46, 50, 40, 49-45. It was not that far apart. I'm gonna be real with you. It was not. Okay. I said it was 3 rounds of two Blachowicz. Because when Blachowicz took down Izzy in that fifth round, I just knew that he just secured that win. Um but look, man, I just want to say, congratulations to Jan Blachowicz. I just want to say best of luck to Izzy. He put up a great fight. It's back to the drawing board for Izzy, and no doubt about it, he'll be back. Now, going to this last fight, Nate. Oh man.
Mm-mm. Uh-uh.
All right. Let's talk about it, Nate. Okay,
All
we
right.
have to.
All
The reason
right.
This is the reason why we put Piotr Jan versus Aljamain Sterling last. All right, let me explain something to you with this fight. Okay, I'll go first. Piotr Jan performed fantastic. I'm gonna be real. Before that knee, he performed fantastic. Let me tell you something, Nate. We were talking about how good Aljamain's wrestling was, right? Did you know Aljamain was? Now get this stat. This stat's pretty shocking to me. Was 1 for 17 on takedowns.
Really?
One takedown completed out of 17.
Wow.
Piotr Jan 7 for 7. We talking about a guy who had like a 29% takedown percentage coming into this fight, took down the wrestler 7 times. Let me tell you now. Here's what I was very concerned about during this fight. If Aljamain goes into this rematch, which he said he will have a rematch, he needs to save that stamina, man. Let me tell you something. He was going to that first round. He was putting the pressure big on Piotr Jan. Big. He was coming forward. He was landing all types of strikes, kicks, fists, spinning back kicks, spinning fists, whatever you can name. Piotr Jan was taking it to him. He didn't give him an ounce of room. What's the problem with that? You need to make sure you can do that for 5 rounds. That's your problem. You need to make sure you can do that for 5 rounds. By the second and third round, I can already see Aljamain Sterling was exhausted. He was exhausted. He was going for takedowns that he shouldn't have been going for. Piotr Jan was able to defend him because, again, when you're facing a pure wrestler, you know the number one thing you should be focusing on in fighting in training camp is takedown defense, right? And we talked about this a little bit. We said Piotr Jan's takedown defense isn't the greatest, but I expect it to be a little bit better because he knows he's going up against a wrestler. I didn't expect him to stop 16 out of 17 takedowns and then take down Aljamain Sterling 7 times without missing one. I didn't expect that. He did like a nice little leg sweep, I think, in the second round. Absolutely fantastic and amazing. Now look, okay, now we got to get to the knee. All right, we got to get to the knee. All right, I know everybody's talking about this knee. Everybody, I've seen it everywhere. Okay, let me explain something to you. It's a disgusting ass act. It's a disgusting act. I'm gonna be real with you. It's a disgusting act. I know his name is No Mercy, but come on, man. You're fighting in the UFC, and despite how dangerous the UFC is, there are rules, right? And one of those rules is not to grab the dude's head and knee him in the face while he's down. That's definitely not one of the rules. And I was very concerned for Aljamain Sterling. I was very, very concerned. I was like, well, is this fight over? Is he okay? He doesn't look too good. That was a very dangerous knee. I think Aljamain was like tearing up. Like it was a very, very dangerous knee. And with that being said, before I say anything else, I just want to say best of luck to Aljamain Sterling. I hope that he's in. I hope that his health is well because that was a very, very
Right, yeah, that
deadly.
was disgusting.
Right now, according to the homie Habib, right? He was like either in the corner or he was near the corner, something like that, right? And he said what I heard coming out of that corner was his trainer goes, his trainer, I think he said I heard his trainer tell him knee him as he was down, and he did. But then they interviewed Piotr Jan post interview, right? And he said, I honestly I didn't hear what my trainer said. I just was trying to wait for him to get up, and then I was gonna land that knee, and I guess he landed it early. That was his. He did apologize. He said like he's wishing him the best of luck, but then he said it wasn't intentional. First of all, let's get one thing straight. It looked pretty intentional. I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
absolutely.
It looked pretty intentional. Okay. Now, despite all the people in the comments, well, Pierre Yan was dominating the fight. You know, that really shouldn't be a disqualification. Pierre Yan is still the champion. Let me tell you something, okay? It is a rule in the UFC. You cannot knee a dude in the face when he's down. Pierre Yan did that, lost his belt. Now, there's going to be also the comments, well, it shouldn't go to the, it should be vacated. It shouldn't go to Aljamain Sterling. You can make that argument, but guess what? It doesn't matter what argument you make. The fact of the matter is Aljamain Sterling is your new bantamweight champion because of that knee. And I don't want to hear no hate in the comments over Aljamain Sterling, okay? People are going to say, well, he was acting, you know, like he was a lot of people have been saying Aljamain Sterling was acting like it hurt, but he was acting like it hurt even more. Let me explain something. You want this guy to get up and continue fighting and putting his health in more serious damage after taking that brutal knee.
Exactly.
So for the people in the comments who are saying that, let me tell you something. If you got hit with that knee, you're out like a light. Okay?
You probably have a really messed up looking face too.
Exactly. So with that being said, no hate towards Aljamain. Okay, and Aljamain said it's not the way I wanted to win. It's not the way I wanted to win. He said I wanted to win it cleanly, and he's gonna give P and they're gonna have their rematch. Aljamain Sterling and Piotr Jan already said they're gonna have their rematch, so it's gonna happen eventually. Okay. With that being said, until then, Aljamain Sterling is your champion. He doesn't even like it. You know, they put it around his waist. He threw it on the ground because who would want to win a championship like that? You know, you didn't really do anything. You didn't succeed in winning that championship. You put up a good fight, but you didn't succeed in winning that championship. Okay, Pure Yan can't have that championship because look what you did. You know how are you going to keep that championship? You know after what you just did. So I mean, with that being said, I wish Aljamain Sterling, you know, the best of luck health wise. Pure Yan, hopefully he learns from this mistake. It was just a dirty, dirty act. I'm not sure what the UFC is gonna do. I'm not sure if that's the end, just strip his title. Um, or he's gonna get fined. I honestly don't know, Nate, but whatever it is, I hope he can learn from this. And this honestly, this incident with Piotr Jan, it reminds me a lot of not John Jones, excuse me. Well, John Jones too, because John Jones' only loss in the UFC came from disqualification. But Roy Jones Jr., the boxer, the famous boxer, his first loss came off of a disqualification. The guy was down, and Roy Jones, I think, like hooked him in that, did like a hook to him while he was down, and he lost his title. But that's exactly what it reminds me of. John Jones and Roy Jones Jr. It reminds me of those right there. Now look, if there's anything that Aljamain Sterling is going to learn from this first fight, it's you got to have stamina for all 5 rounds. If you're going to put the pressure on him like that, you better have stamina for all 5 rounds. Mix up your strikes and takedowns. It's as simple as that. Okay, like the takedowns were just not working for him. He wasn't doing. He didn't have. I don't think the technique was good enough to take down Jan, which is the reason why he was 1 for 17. When he was exhausted, he was trying even more takedowns. Like it's not going to work that way. You know what I'm saying? It's just not going to work. But I mean, man, regarding like this UFC event, Amanda Nunez is still your UFC, I think, featherweight champion now. Yeah, featherweight champion. UFC women's featherweight champion. Jan Blachowicz retains his UFC light heavyweight championship, and Aljamain Sterling is your new UFC bantamweight champion due to fourth round disqualification. So, I mean, overall, the event was really good. I don't think it disappointed. Obviously, there was like the controversies, and obviously there was what happened with Piotr Jan, but I don't think this event disappointed. So, I mean, with that being said, congratulations to all the winners. I mean, congratulations to the people who won at UFC 259. As for the losers, they got to get back to the drawing board. They put up a good fight, but that's just the next step. And I'll give it to you, Nate. As for Piotr Jan, because you haven't talked about it yet.
Yeah, there's really not much for me to say. I'll get to the stamina part of it. I absolutely agree. I'm not a martial artist by no means. So don't when it comes to knowledge about being a fighter, don't take it from me. But there's one thing that I do know about fighting and just sports in general, or at least some sports anyway, because some sports you don't really have a choice, but others you do. Especially when it comes to fighting. If you're a fighter out there, if you watch, if you're an MMA fighter, if you're a boxer, your stamina level and your energy level is really really important in order for you to last the fight as long as it does. You know what I mean? You gotta make sure you keep that energy level pretty high. Obviously, it's gonna drain as the fight goes on, but in the beginning, you gotta maintain that. You gotta be careful with that because the less energy you have, the more strength you're gonna lose. It's that simple. It's the same thing with it's the same thing with like running. The more you run, the more energy you lose, the more strength you lose to run, and whatever the case might be. But that's different. Like especially sports like football and basketball, you're obviously gonna drain yourself because y'all most of the time you're just gonna be running. So that's a different story. But with fighting, you're gonna be on the move all the time, just like those other two sports that I mentioned. So you gotta make sure that that energy level is high enough and durable enough, I should say, at that too, to last the fight. Because if it's not durable, then you know who knows how long it's gonna be before you finally get taken down. As for the knee, I absolutely agree. This dude really pulled a Daniel Bryan and like just kneed him straight in the face. Like I seen that, and I'm like, dude, I was like, man, WWE, you gotta sign this dude. This dude just pulled a Daniel Bryan and beat the hell out of him. I really don't know what else to say with that. I looked at that and I was like, that's just messed up, man. Like this dude could have broken his freaking face. Like, it's insane, dude. I mean, do I think he should get a fine? Yeah, it looked pretty intentional to me. I think he should get fined. I mean, they stripped the title away from him, but pretty much, I really do think he should get fined for that. And if he does, or if any other punishments come from this, we will talk about it. But right now, nothing hasn't been said about it. So, other than the fact that his title was stripped, so with that being said, if something does come up, we will talk about it on here. I again, am I gonna josh him for kneeing him? Absolutely. But if am I gonna completely josh him as a person? No, he can learn from this. And if he keeps on doing it, then you bet I'm gonna keep joshing this dude. But look, man. With that being said, congratulations to everybody that won. And as for everybody that lost or got disqualified, go back to the drawing board, learn from your mistakes and just be a better person and fighter.